Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Successful as Fuck show. I am your host, Riah Gonzalez. Super excited today because I have Keshelle Davis with me, and we are going to dive into her journey of unconventional success. And she's going to go there with us today, which is always nice and fun to hear other people's stories and how they have reached where they are today. But Keshelle, tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us about who you serve.
So, hi, Ria. It's so good to have you interview me and have this chat with you. So, for me, I run a company called the Training Authority here in the beautiful Nassau, Bahamas. And we are corporate trainers, but we also help people, experts, entrepreneurs, speakers, authors package their knowledge into online courses. That's something that I'm truly passionate about. I have a 17-year history in the education professional training environment. And so we do quite a lot of that, my team and I. And then I'm also a business coach. So I help women who are passionate about growing successful businesses, particularly online, because I have a tech background, just get their business started and scaled.
I love that. I have a tech background as well. It's different though. Mine is administrative management and IT. And I always tell people I cannot fix your computer.
Yes.
I can make some recommendations on how you can run your office better.
Yeah, tech is so wide, right? People, when they hear tech, they think it's just typically one area. No, so
Yes. Don't call me for your computer issues.
yes, neither me.
You'll be sorely disappointed because also everything that I learned is like obsolete too. So,
Yeah.
well, tell us a little bit, like diving into the topic. In the early years of way back when, in the early years of your adulthood, what did you think success was? What did you feel like if you had experienced, you would have made it?
Yeah, I love this question. So, to give some context, I graduated high school at 16
Nice.
and I got pregnant at 17. So,
Ditto, except for 19. Yeah.
yeah, right. So for me, success back then was, and this may seem really crazy, but this is how I always share the story. Success back then was living, and I just say it this way, living the life that I saw on TV.
Oh, yeah.
And that meant, traveling, that meant just having, the material things that I guess back then was amazing. And just having the money to be able to have what I want, do what I want, go wherever I want. So that was really what success was to me back then.
I know, isn't that funny how we, like, even as young moms, I mean, I just remember thinking, I had a friend who is the same age. We're still friends to this day. And she was in construction with her dad. And I remember this was like 1998 or something. And she was making $24 an hour. And I thought, oh my God, what would you do with all that money? Like $24 an hour. Like, that's just, I mean, like, and I know that for many people that is a lot of money, but like with the cost of living and everything, it's just like a lot of times it just doesn't go very far. But back then it was like minimum wage was like $4 and something an hour. So $24 an hour was unheard of. Exactly. And so I just remember like laying in bed thinking like, God, can you just like rub a little of that here? Like we're just barely making it. I just want to like not have to, I want choices. Yeah. I think that's really what, like, as a young mom, when you're longing for those material things, what you're longing for is choice. You want to like not be in your circumstance. You want the best for your children. You want the best. We're children at that point. We want the best for ourselves. And the way that we may not have been provided for in other ways, not because our parents didn't want to, but maybe they couldn't, for whatever reason. And so, yeah, I feel you on that. Like just wanting the choice to like wear whatever you want, go wherever you want to go, buy whatever you want to buy. Like you want the box cereal instead of the bag cereal, then the box cereal it is, like whatever it might be.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. And that's amazing too, that you were able to graduate be like before? I mean, I know there's some people who get pregnant and then graduate early, but that
Mhm.
you were able to graduate early before becoming a teen mom
Mhm.
is such an amazing feat and a testament to who you are, to graduate, even just to graduate early. So,
Mhm.
um, so how did things change over time? Like, what did motherhood do that helped you move forward, and how did things change for you as that progressed for you?
Yeah, so for me, that provided focus for me. So for as in a high school student, I always was smart. So I knew that I was smart. I knew that I could have used that to my advantage because it got me through school. I still graduated top of my class. And so but I knew that I was not focused on any one particular success path, right? So even when I graduated, I didn't necessarily know at the time what my career would have been. I knew that's what success looks like for me, but I didn't have a career path. And so having my daughter early, it created that fire. Back then, I met a lady who's now still a friend of mine to this day. And I remember her saying to me, Keshelle, you have a daughter now. You have to put some things in place. You have to get yourself together almost. She didn't say it that day, but and just prepare for your daughter the life that you want her to have. And so for me, that put me on the path. She, with her help, put me on a path to studying business, to studying personal growth, professional growth. Again, I was always success minded, but I was just, drifting, if you may. And so my daughter provided that ability to say, hey, now I have someone to take care of. I cannot take myself for granted. I need to focus
Yes.
on, I have another mouth to feed, and I need to focus on being successful for her. And so that's really where the journey started into studying business, studying personal growth. I found my love at the time, which was technology. We had a conversation about that back
Yeah.
before the show. And then I realized that how much I love teaching and education, right? But I knew that I did not want to teach in a traditional classroom because remember, I wanted to be rich. I wanted to be all the things that I
Yes.
saw on TV. So I knew that that was not the path for me. And then I realized that, hey, I could teach, I could spread knowledge, as I like to say, in a business capacity. So, fast forward down the journey, I got into training companies locally, and then eventually I started my own.
Nice. Very nice. We have some parallels to this story. I mean, I
Mhm.
didn't go into business as quickly, but when I had my daughter, I was working in retail stores because I
Mhm.
thought, I mean, I always worked in retail and restaurants in high school. And so I just kind of figured I would stay along the same path and that maybe I would make manager someday, or I don't know what I was like. I just wasn't thinking broader than what my immediate environment was.
Uh-huh.
And I did not have, unfortunately, a lot of adult intervention or mentorship, where I could see outside of the picture. And I had a friend at the time, and he said to me, "What are you doing?" I was like, "What do you mean? What are you doing?" He's like, "Why are you working in that job?"
Uh-huh.
And I was like, "Because it's a job." And he said, "No, no, no, no. You are way too smart to be working that job." He says, "You go find something else." He's like, "No, no, you're not allowed." And I started working in a hospital, and I
Mhm.
just worked in food service and catering, but it started the ball that rolled, and I met the director of by the smoking area, by the way, because it was
Mhm.
very like, like very popular to smoke back then. But I met the director of telecommunications, and she really liked me, so I got a job in the telecommunications department, and then that spurred administration into
Wow.
healthcare from there. And so it's just interesting how like life takes its little journey, but you do have to have like a little wake up call when you have a little one who needs you. It's like, it's not about me anymore. It's about what life can I provide that's better for this next generation?
Absolutely.
You know, and how can I improve myself to be better for this next generation? So
Mhm.
that I think is amazing that you had that mentor, and what a wonderful gift to lead you on that path,
Yeah.
because it's inspirational for us to do that for the next generation too. You know, I mean,
Absolutely.
luckily for us, the next generation is our offspring.
Yes.
So we always joke that we grew up together, because my eldest loves like 90s R&B and hip hop and all
Yep.
that. I'm like, all right, just put on the music. We're both gonna be fine. Like, you know? So yeah, it's just, you know, like we do joke that we grew up together, because we did, you know,
Absolutely.
but it's just, you know, it's fun to see that next generation, and fun to see what their view of success is, and how it changed,
Mhm.
you know, even in this short period of time, now that they're like baby stepping into their 20s, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yep. My daughter will be 22 next month. So I every time I think about that, I'm always amazed at the
I know.
journey.
Yeah, mine will be in a weeks from tomorrow. She'll be 23.
Oh
And
wow.
then
Yep.
my
Fine.
middle one just turned 21. So it's just like, it's crazy to, I always say I'm too young to have you. I'm just
Yes.
too young, but that's okay.
I always joke. I said, look at your friends' parents. They're not as young as I am.
Yes. Yeah. So after that, so you had this mentor who helped kind of put you down this path, and you got into training, which I think is phenomenal. And then you started your entrepreneurial journey, it sounds like, from there. What was that like? Because I know as an entrepreneur, it is so scary to like venture out on your own, but to be a mom and, you know, to move out into that space. What was that like for you, and what hopes and
Yeah.
dreams did you have
Whew.
there?
One thing I realized about myself, I'm definitely a risk taker. And so for me, I took the risk. I'm always someone who's going to go after the what if. And so, yes, I got to a point where I was working, on jobs in the training department, and I wanted to go into my own business. I realized that I was ready. And I remember leaving a job to go full time into entrepreneurship. So that was 2008. And that first year, and if you remember what 2008 was,
Oh
that was
man,
also the
yeah.
part of the whole financial meltdown. And I was crazy enough to still go headstrong into my business. And my first year in business, my car, which I had got a loan for because there was a stint that I worked in the banking industry. My car got repossessed 3 times.
Oh man.
3 times. I always share the joke that the repo man, he and I are friends to this day because he would come, to pick up the car, and I would say, hey, look, I have to drop my daughter to school. And he would, say, hey, I understand that, but my job is to collect the car. And so that was my first year, just moments like that throughout my first year in business. Being a single mother, every dollar that came in during the business, of course, it was little because it was just at the startup level,
Yes.
went to taking care of my daughter, and then, if necessary, putting back into the business. And so that was the first year in business full time. It was a difficult year, but when I look back at it now, it was one of those defining moments for me because what it did, one, it showed my tenacity. I realized that I was that person who, regardless of how difficult it got, I knew I wanted to be my own boss. And so I was prepared to go through what I went through. And thankfully, I got to the other side, but it taught me just the tenacity that, hey, you know what? It reminded me how much I wanted success. Um, and two, what it also did for me was take away my what should I say, my passion or my connection to material things. So I was young. I like the material things. I like the nice cars. I love the the nice clothes. And when I got stripped that year, very little income coming in, everything pretty much taken from me, it helped me to realize that the material things that I thought were so valuable and made me feel or be so valuable really meant absolutely nothing.
Right. Yeah.
And it showed me what truly mattered. And it wasn't the material things that I so, relied on at that time in my life and my business.
Yeah. I think that's such an important theme for life, but also that is the theme of the book. Like I've had friends, like my best friends, and I was like, when are you guys going to come on the show? My friends, like I have friends who I think are massively successful. Like, I
Mhm.
mean, just like one in particular, and if she's going to know, I'm calling her out if she hears this, but she calls herself the trailer park success story because
Mhm.
she literally grew up in a trailer park and now she's like a big wig at Microsoft and she does really well for herself. Um, and I just think like I admire her so much, not because of the money she earns, but just like, again, the tenacity. Like she put herself through college. Like no one helped her. She got the loans, like she got scholarships, but for the most part, she financed it. She has now paid off everything early, like been very diligent about that. And I was like, when are you going to be on the show? And she's like, never. And I was like, why? And she's like, the name of your show is Successful as Fuck. I am not successful as fuck. And I was like, first of all, don't get it twisted. Okay. Like you
Wow.
are. And I was like, second of all, like you're missing the whole point. Like if you say you're successful as fuck, you're successful as fuck. Like,
Exactly.
if you don't feel that way, then we need to have a different conversation. There's like ups and downs in how we feel. Just this morning, I was on Clubhouse and I ended up in this room with these ladies, and they were like, I mean, just like preaching over everything and like just inspiring. And I was just like, I felt so overwhelmed, and it's
Mm.
been sort of like one of those like ebbs and flow type things. And then they called me up on stage and I said, like, I said, I'm sorry, I'm really emotional right now because I've been going through this phase where I don't feel as good in my business as I normally do. And you guys are just like bringing me life, like bringing
Mm.
just joy into this and making me feel that this is possible. And you can feel successful even in that moment.
Yes, I think it depends on how we define success, right? So for me now, success is really, are you moving towards the goals that you see for
Oh,
yourself,
yes.
right? Am I moving towards, because there's always levels of success. And if I can say that I'm actively moving or progressing towards the goals or the vision that I see, I consider that successful.
Yes.
And so, when I look at the people the person you mentioned, and the people that I get to work with, they are all successful in their own right. I think we become unsuccessful when we stop
Yes.
progressing, and that's really what, if I mean, there's lots of other definitions, but that's the definite definition that I tend to hold on to.
I love that. I mean, it's like what I'm taking from what you're saying is like it's the movement. Like,
Exactly.
are you moving? Are you moving in a direction? Because sometimes we're moving in the wrong direction, but we're moving, you know?
Exactly.
Like you can't possibly switch gears if you're stuck. Like you have to actually start moving and then go, oh, nope, that's not it. Turn
Exactly.
around, go the other direction.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, even in those darker moments, even in those harder moments, you can be successful if you say you are. And I love that, just saying, I am moving. This is my current reality, but this is not my
Mhm.
reality.
Yes.
My reality says that I am successful.
Exactly, exactly. And it's are you taking steps towards a goal that you see for yourself?
Yes.
And
Yes.
even if it's one step a month, this is
Yes.
how I look at it, right? This is how I coach my clients. A step is a step is a step. If you can look back and you see the steps you are making, And we all have things that we are challenged with in our business, in our life, in our career, something that's really what life is about. It's
Yeah.
going to throw challenges and curveballs at you. But in spite of that, are you making progress? And if you can look back and say, you know what, I probably would love to do more, but
Right.
if I could be honest, I have made progress. That is what success looks like, because it's like it's business particularly is a marathon. I mean,
Got it.
there's no race, there's no, time frame. Once you're moving on this journey, you
Yeah.
can consider yourself successful.
Do you coach your clients? Because I love the analogy of like a step is a step is a step, but do you have them document, like, because I just think that would be a really interesting thing, because we move so fast
Yes.
that sometimes it's hard to look back and see those steps.
Yeah.
How do you have them document, and how do you document for yourself
Yeah.
the steps that you're taking towards success?
So there's two things that I do and I have my clients do. So for me, every Sunday, I do a weekly review.
Mm,
So anywhere between 4 to 6 on a Sunday, I am looking through my week. If it doesn't happen on a Sunday, it usually happens on a Monday morning or that thereabout. But I just look back at the week and just identify what were some of the things that I can celebrate. Right now, I consider myself to be a recovering workaholic. So there were times when I didn't celebrate.
yeah.
It was just about getting more done. Now celebration is a big part of it. So I look back at what I've achieved, what progress have I made. And I just have a document, a book that I use, and I store all of that in. With my group, so I have a business mentorship group, and every month, at the end of every month, we look back together collectively, and I love to do it with people, because sometimes, again, if we do it individually, we forget, we take things for granted. So collectively, we come together and we share, hey, what were some of the steps that you took, what were some of the wins that you made. And usually what happens is someone who perhaps think that they haven't made much progress, by the end of that process, they realize that, hey, oh wow, I did forget this, or I did forget this, and
Right.
so that community creates that opportunity to force them to really think about the progress that they are making.
Right, because we can tend to dismiss for ourselves. If
Yeah.
we're just looking internally and we're just like, even if we're documenting it, we can dismiss, that wasn't really progress, or that really wasn't that big of a deal, so I can't count that. But it seems like if there's some, even on a small scale, if there's some form
Good.
of accountability to saying what did you do this week, that was progress. I love that. I think that's something that even if you're not in a group program, you can replicate. Get a business bestie, like a biz bestie, and say like, okay, it's Sunday or it's Monday morning, like, tell me what was last week's win. And do you, in the book that you have, do you just put like your wins in the one book, or do you have is it like a planner type
It's
thing
a
that?
planner. So it's a planner. So it's the wins, it's what I have coming that week. It's projects that I'm working on. Just yeah. So it's a book that I can go back to over and over. Just and I can. There are times when I don't do it because life
Right,
happens or you
of
feel
course.
lazy. But the times when I realize that I don't sit down and just document, is I feel so weird, because it keeps me grounded. It reminds me, like you say, that hey, the progress is being made, because our minds can play tricks on us.
Yes. Yes.
Really could, especially entrepreneurs, because there's such a big mountain that we are attempting to climb seemingly all of the time.
Yes.
Our minds could make us feel like nothing is happening. Right.
Yes.
So when I find myself not doing it, or when, week, 2 weeks, sometimes 3 weeks go by and I'm like, oh, I could get away with not doing it, I find disposition changes, and I'm like, you know
Mhm.
what? Let me go back to what was working, what
Right.
was keeping me grounded and focused on and positively thinking.
I like that because it's very practical too, because you're looking at what you did for the week. And I just think that you're right. We can tend to take things for granted. And I'm not like even in the book I said, like, I'm not a just like a pat gratitude journal, like, thank you for my home and thank you for my family. I love
Yeah,
all those things. I
yeah.
do. I love all those things, but they're not going to get my ass out of bed in the morning. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they will, but like, when it's really hard and when I'm really struggling, it's going to take something deeper.
Yeah.
And I need to see the impact that I'm making, because in my business, for example, what I do is I'm a virtual assistant matchmaker. So what I do
Mhm.
is help female entrepreneurs match with a female virtual assistant in the Philippines.
Okay.
Well, there's an impact on my client who's getting help that she can afford to be able to advance her business faster and better. And there's an impact on a woman in a developing country to be able to work from home, and
Mhm.
sometimes they can't work outside of the home, and they are extremely highly educated and motivated. And so there's this connection between the
Mhm.
two, and that's an impact. And I'm
Yeah.
doing that, and I made that. I made
Mhm.
But I forget that sometimes. I forget that with each client that I have, I'm actually changing both of their lives.
Yeah.
And these wins are not like the little, I'm grateful for the flowers on the side of the road.
Yeah.
They're like, no, I changed a life this week. You know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
I empowered a female entrepreneur this week, or I
Mhm.
gave somebody who's a stay-at-home mom an a kick
Mhm.
butt career. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, those are things that are tangible that you have to hold on to and dig deep into and give yourself the credit, because that's the other thing, is we go surface
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
we don't want to be shallow. I mean, we don't want to be shallow, so we go surface. We go
Mhm.
shallow. You know what I mean? So we don't want to seem like, oh, we're tooting our own horn. Toot your own fucking
No, I
horn.
could toot my
No
own
one's
horn.
gonna do it for you. Toot it.
Yeah, I think that
Woo!
as women, there are women who struggle. I don't personally struggle with that. I think I've overcome that of being afraid to toot your own horn, because if you don't do it, who does it? Who
Nobody.
does it? And so I'm a big fan of talking about your success, because the success that you, like you said, it makes an impact. It inspires someone else, and it perhaps helps someone to get up off the ground and
Yes.
keep moving. And so every opportunity that I get to toot my own horn,
Yes.
I do it, because we have to recognize the brilliance as women that we have and that we bring to the table, more and more and more, because it does inspire others. I know for me, you talk about remembering the impact, right in front of me. I have a wall of women, and it's a combination of the clients that I get to serve, and also women who inspire me. And so whenever I'm feeling like, okay, I'm being lazy, or just, okay, I'm done, I'm tired, I go back and I look at that wall of women, and I think about, my clients who are making progress in their business because of the work that I'm either helping them do or supporting them or cheering them on. And so, whatever we need to do to keep reminding ourselves,
Yes.
especially those who are in service to other people, that the work we do matter, is
Yeah.
important.
Yes. Oh my gosh, you're giving me so many like ideas. I love this. I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna print out all the pictures of my clients. They're gonna think I'm
Yes,
crazy, but I
yes,
don't care. So tell me, looking forward, what do you feel like success in the future is gonna mean for you? Because you're at this beautiful stage in your business right now. You have this wonderful perspective looking backwards. And you know, just the fact that we have children that have made it to their 20s and they're alive, that's a big success right there. But tell me what you think in terms of moving forward 10, 15, 20 years. What does success look like? At least, what do you think success looks like for you?
Yeah, I love this question. You know, I think it's a combination of what I initially thought plus more. And so for me, it is the same freedom, right?
Yeah.
I love travel. I love the choices, right, that money allows me to have. And so having that choice, the freedom to say, hey, you know what, I want, my husband and I, we do 30-day vacations. So that's something that I classify as success because not many people really, even think to do that. And so being able to have the freedom and the funds to be able to consistently live the life that I choose and be wherever I choose to be in the world, that's still success to me. But if I were to add to that, it's also being able to give, right? I'm a person, I believe in generosity. That's one of my core values. And so I want to be able to have more than enough, even more that, when I look back and I see injustices happening, to be able to fund, the needs, to be able to support a female in business more so than I do now, financially, that is. I am active in my church community here in the Bahamas to be able to write checks with lots of zeros.
Yes.
And so that is what success looks like to me, to be able to travel, but also have the monies to write the checks.
Yes.
Any cause or community that I feel led to give to.
I love that. I love that so much. So the last question that I always ask, which I love this question because I get so many answers that are varied. And I have a previous podcast that I did for 2 years. Then I asked this question on every episode. So I've heard not at all, but like a lot of different answers. But what would you say from any source at all is the best piece of advice that you've ever been given, or a mantra or something you've carried with you that has really, really like rocked you and changed your life and really like been inspirational for you?
This is such a dynamic and interesting question. If I were to choose one, though, it has to be a mantra. And it's a mantra that came from a mentor of mine who wrote a book on the purpose and power of vision. And I took that book, turned it into a workshop and a movement called Make It Real, right? So I have a program. My book is coming out later this year on Make It Real. I have a group of women who I encourage to make their dreams real each day. And so whenever I find myself either getting tired or even just need that inspiration, I just remind myself that it's time to make it real, whatever the it is, right? That it can change, that it has changed over the last 10 years. But once I say it's time to make it real, it just reminds me to consistently go after the dreams that I have. I'm very dream focused, future focused, futuristic. And even today, it's Make It Real Monday. And so every Monday I remind myself of, hey, what am I making real this week? What am I making real this month? What do I look back over the year and say, hey, you made this real? And so that is something that I remind myself of. I've become very passionate about helping other people, men and women, to remind themselves to make their dreams real, whatever that means. And so that's something that no matter what, I can forget all of the other things, but that's usually one that keeps me. All right, Keshelle, it's time to make it real today. Let's get up off this lazy.
I love this. When is your book?
Just get it going. It's coming up November. I'm doing a book launch with the birthday party.
I love it. So mine's coming out September. So we'll stay closely connected because we're just like probably a 6-week delay between the two. I love that because our books are like very closely aligned. You know what I mean? It is really about what is it? Make it real. What is it? What is success? What is perfect? It is what
Exactly.
we say it is. It is what
Absolutely.
we say it is, and what meaning we give to that.
Yeah.
And then leaning into that and letting it be real, making it be
Mhm.
real. I
Yes.
love that so much. So yes, I will definitely be watching for the book and sharing on social media as well, because I believe so much in what it is that you're doing, and I also love the mission behind what it is that you're doing, and the people that you're helping, because it is, like I said, there's people like me who didn't have someone like you in the very beginning, and
Yeah.
it's really important to have that guidance and that encouragement, because
Yeah.
as you said, it is a marathon, whether that's in business or in life. This
Yep.
is a marathon. And
Mhm.
it made me think, and this will be my like parting thought, but my husband, he did not train, but he ran a half marathon. And
Ah.
he just like literally did not train. He just got up one day, he had registered for it, and he just went and ran a half marathon. I'm like, you are insane. But it was like mile 11, and
Uh-huh.
a lady face planted right in front of him, like
Mm.
blood everywhere. Like she had, tried to push herself. And then like he passed her and he was like really worried about her and everything. And then his legs started cramping. And he's like, no, 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 no. We're going to keep going. And then his legs started cramping harder. And then he remembered that lady and he was like, I'm going to walk right now. Like, I don't want to be that lady, like, and
Wow.
so he walked for a mile and then he ran the rest of it. And I just think about that. Like, you can be the person pushing, pushing, pushing who falls flat on their face and then needs the EMT, or you can say, I'm going to walk for a little while and then
Yeah.
you can sprint the end.
Yeah.
And
I
it's
love that.
okay. And like, I'm actually going to tell him this today. Like, I'm going to be like, listen, remember that conversation about the business? We're going to do a little analogy here. Um,
I love
because
that.
I think that's it. Like, that's it, really. And that could be whatever dream you have. This is not a short little, like,
Right.
mile, 4 laps around the field. This is a full, this is a triathlon. This
Yep.
is like, we're in training. We're
Yes.
in training. We haven't even started yet. Like, we haven't even started the race yet. We are literally just putting ourselves on the path.
Yep.
And so, just for us to know that it's okay if we have to walk for a little while. It's
Absolutely.
okay if you have to link arms with somebody to make it up the hill.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you have to do to make it to the next mile marker is
Mm-hmm.
the right step. And
Yep.
you are making it real if you do that. You
Yeah.
are making progress. You are moving forward. So I love, love, love that.
I love that analogy. Oh, I love it.
Use it. It's a good one.
I
It's true.
will.
Well, Keshelle, thank you so much for joining us today on the Successful as Fuck show. You are amazing. And
Thank you.
for the people watching, I highly recommend that you connect with Keshelle. We have all of her contact information in the show notes. And Keshelle, what's the best platform for them to connect with you? Where are you at most of the time?
I love Instagram. It's so
Instagram.
fun.
Okay,
So
yeah.
reach out to me and I'll answer you right on Instagram.
Love it. Love it. Well, thank you again for gracing us with your presence, dropping those truth bombs. I have so many ideas, literally. I'm like, I'm serious when you were talking. I was like, where's the piece of paper? Like, I need to write some of these down.
Wow.
So I love it. Well, thank you again. And we will see you guys next time. Thank you.